training camp here in Oxnard, California. We are back to practice, and it feels good to see some action alongside Nick Harris. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Let's not waste any time because we have some 7-on-7 going on at the moment. Dak Prescott threw into some of his receivers for the first time this year. He's going to try that one over the top to Jake Ferguson.
What up, what up?
From J-Ron Curse. But what do you expect to see out of this passing game? Of course, new play caller and Mike McCarthy. Lots of changes up front, but it seems like there's a lot of excitement around the air game.
Honestly, there's not as many changes in quantity, but I would say there's a lot of changes in quality because you have Mike McCarthy coming in as a play caller, and you also have a solidified wide receiver, too, who's been in the league now going into his 10th season, and Brandon Cooks. If you look at the top three receivers, number 1, you have CeeDee Lamb, 2, Brandon Cooks, 3, Michael Gallup.
What up?
All of these guys are guys that can line up inside, line up outside, and allow your offense
How's
to
everybody
really
doing in the chat?
Do a lot of different things. I think
what up,
it's going
Keith?
to be really fun for Dak
Said
Prescott.
things never change.
You just saw
Jalen
Tolbert there underneath making
Appreciate the
followers. He seems to have a new feel with this offense. He feels confident. He's got a bit of a
shout out to Cowboy Nation, man. How's everybody loving the first day of camp?
Up in the air. Semi Fehoko could not hold on. Just as we were talking about Jalen Tolbert, Eric Scott comes up with the first interception of 7-on-7. The rookie gets the pick.
I can smell football season around the corner, chat.
Make a grab. Fehoko drops one. That's a battle we've been waiting to see.
That's definitely a head-to-head battle that we're going to be seeing this month in Oxnard. Jalen Tolbert versus Semi Fehoko, who claims that wide receiver spot.
No, I saw it already. I already saw this already.
It's early. But looking
this is just a recap. I'm talking with you guys.
He really focused on getting chemistry with Dak and getting better mentally, and he feels so much better going into season 2. You know, I think he's going to be.
Everybody's just trying to get their timing down. Shout out to Cowboy Nation, man.
And then looking at Eric Scott, 6th-round pick.
Everybody across the nation, you know, everybody in their favorite teams is in
that defense. We'll see what kind of impact he can make in year
everybody
1.
starting in camp.
Outside and cover here against looks like Durden on the outside. So we'll have a little Eric Scott action off and to the left there.
We're here to talk about Cowboys football, man. I'm excited to see a lot of these rookies.
On Dontario Drummond, but you really look at this.
You said this man already throwing picks.
Yep. They traded up to go get.
Listen, at the end of the day, look, Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl and he threw the most picks in one season. The season that he won the Super Bowl, he threw the most picks in one season. So I don't want to hear that.
They saw him during the evaluation.
End of the day, I like Dak. If he doesn't turn the ball over, we're straight.
Helps him get on the field as early as possible. Might need to improve in the run game. You know, he saw a couple of lapses last season as
if Dak don't get right, Dak got to go. Well, Dak ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere for 2 years.
Throw his direction again, and that one bobbled.
This season and then next season, and then more than likely, then they'll make a decision. But he ain't going nowhere for this season and next year.
Jalen Brooks, another
yeah, but Rams different from the Cowboys.
6th round versus 7th round right there. Jalen Brooks.
No, Rams got lucky. Rams actually should have got knocked out by the damn Niners.
Sean McEwen in the flats. Let's take a look at the middle of this defense. Number 33, Damone Clark. We saw him toward the back half of last year. Really,
he had to take risks. He's like, y'all got to extend him.
How do you expect him to take a jump?
We'll extend Dak if he puts in work.
There's an open linebacker spot.
But you have to realize it's not just Dak. The defense got to do their job. Everybody got to do their job.
You know
what I'm
but they all say that they are ready to compete and
make
do their job, man.
You got a new play caller this year.
He said he wants the coaches to question who the guy is every day.
Shout out to everybody, though.
It didn't even have
See, I think Dak holding y'all back. No, Dak's not holding us back.
Each and every day, and we could see that early
I don't
on.
think. Like Miguel Otero in the house was he said he had to take the risk. So I got a question for football heads in there. So for the football heads in the chat,
that one away. Not a ton of pressure
what
coming.
quarterback would you pick up right now instead of Dak? If you guys are such Cowboy fans, right? If you had a quarterback to replace Dak right now, right before the season, who would you rather start than Dak?
Some of these young guys really step up. You're not going to see a ton of veteran work here. Maybe
Cam Newton. I love Cam, but he wouldn't work our scheme. Cam Newton wouldn't work for our scheme.
Some valuable reps. This might be some of the
not for the scheme that we're trying to run.
Rolls around here in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. If you are a big preseason fan,
Cam is doing. Cam's out of shape right now. He's doing podcasts and stuff.
About that second half of the second
defense isn't a problem anymore. It's him. Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, and Cam Newton ain't playing again in the NFL ever. I wouldn't take. Listen, I love Cam Newton, but I wouldn't take Cam over Dak.
Mike McCarthy has said many times it's not about replacing Zeke. It's more so about finding that complementary guy.
He said Patrick Mahomes. The thing is, everybody would love Patrick Mahomes, right, Miguel? Everyone would. Shit, everyone. The Chiefs locked him up for years.
Marvion Overshown lining up out here at corner. He can do a lot of different things for this defense, playing on all 3 levels. And,
Listen,
this is
the Cowboys made the second round of the playoffs 2 times in a row. The guy, Dak has like a 63-30 record. He has a winning record.
But you're right.
Like everybody always talks shit about Dak like this. Don't get me wrong. As a Cowboy fan, I get aggravated too when like he throws an interception or a turnover at the wrong time. I get it, just like any other fan would. But like, there's no quarterback right now that I would put in over Dak for this season.
Being what he did last year, coming in the absence of Dak Prescott, winning those games.
They beat the Bucks. Yeah, they did. They beat the Bucks.
He's been very vocal about how impressed he's been with
They beat the Bucks, and Tom Brady was playing. Like,
just stay consistent. He did a lot of things last season, not trying to do too much. Hey, there's a touchdown grab.
Got one in the back of the end.
Listen, I'm just excited. It is training camp now. Guys are running around. They don't have full pads on yet because they're just trying to get in there. But I just love that football season is coming back. Guys are getting warmed up, trying to see rookies make the team. That's my favorite part.
So after a little 7-on-7 action, now we get the full thing. We got a little 11-on-11.
He said the Bucks were terrible. Hey, the Bucks weren't that terrible. They made the playoffs.
You have Dak Prescott behind the center. He just handed that ball off. And a quick scatter there for that's Malik Davis, who a lot of people might think would be that number 2 option behind Tony Pollard.
Yeah, absolutely, just because of what he was able to do when he got his.
I think Malik Davis is going to be number 2.
My brain is the game against Detroit when he had those reps. And
appreciate everybody coming through, man. Just talking some football, man. Let me know where you guys are calling from. Let me know where you guys are chatting from, man. If you're a Dallas Cowboys nation, let me get a little DC4L in the chat.
Pads on early on in this training camp. You're going to see just contact.
Cowboys nation over here,
a couple guys getting on the ground. That's Chauncey Golston that got tripped up, and then
I'm very happy to see Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn do their thing. Overshawn, I'm looking forward to seeing Overshawn.
It's good to see a veteran
linebackers.
He's probably not going to do a whole
He said,
lot here,
"Watch your mouth, James." Yeah, I was going to say Miguel's a big time Buccaneers fan. He's a Mike Allstott fan. That boy run you over. They made playoffs because Falcons, Panthers were terrible. Hey, there's a lot of divisions that are terrible too.
He's already been able to uplift the defensive back.
What I want to see is the NFC East and the AFC East. The AFC East is going to be rough. He said there's a few quarterbacks I would take over Dak. Well, like I said, Miguel, listen, you're a Dallas Cowboys fan as much as I am, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm a Cowboys fan. I get frustrated with Dak too, just as much. But he also makes plays too. You know what I mean? He knows the offense. This and that. I mean, there's no quarterback right now that I would put in. I mean, he knows the system. You know, he's comfortable with his receivers. You know what I mean? Like there's really no excuse for this year.
This was his moment, but if Simi wins
for Dak.
Jalen probably still has another couple of opportunities just because this is year 2.
He said, "I'd rather have Romo." I love Romo too. I would pick Romo over Dak. Yes. If Romo was healthy and younger and had this team, I'll be cool with it.
Off to Rico Dowdle. There was a bit of
he said it's going to be Eagles 49ers NFC Championship.
We'll
see.
He's also got some pressure on him as well to step up, especially with the draft pick. And
Niners got a tough defense. We're going to have a tough defense. It's really going to come out. It's really going to come down to execution, really.
Right there in the middle of that defense.
I don't think the Eagles are going to be that good this year. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to call it right now. Eagles are a tough team. Don't get me wrong. They got some good guys on defense. I think defensive coordinators are going to scheme for Jalen Hurts this year. I don't think the offense is going to be as powerful as it was this year. I think the Eagles' defense is going to be tough. I just don't think, Rich Black Man in the house, DC4L. I don't think the Eagles are going to be that good this year. I think defensive coordinators are going to watch film like crazy, and they're gonna slow that shit down. That's what I personally think. He's like, with Romo, I know I'm getting the either going to throw for 500 yards or he's going to throw 5 picks.
Behind the line of scrimmage, there's Ronald
He's
Jones,
like that Monday night against the Bears.
Yeah,
I mean, Romo was always dope.
Two-time Super Bowl champion coming in, and
but now he's killing it in the booth.
Cowboys
in the same position.
Under center again.
No, Cowboys are not in the same position as Giants. The Giants need to figure out what the fuck they're going to do with
John Stevens, who Linda Wells was telling me
the Giants are not in the same situation as the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
We had player for player, squad for squad, we have a more superior team. You cannot compare the Giants situation to the Cowboys situation. Keith, you're right. Doing these RP sets, okay. Yo, Hollywood, Dallas Cowboys for life. Jason Hollywood. Hollywood J in the building. What's up, Hollywood J? We're talking some Cowboys over here. He said, McEwen will go up the sideline, and he was guarded by the Monclairs. Rowdy. What do you mean they're both winning out? Giants didn't make. Did the Giants make the playoffs this year? I don't think the Giants made the playoffs this year.
Get a little rowdy. You see what I did there?
No, you don't. Daniel Jones and Dak. Your receivers are trash. Running backs trash. So we have trash receivers. You're crazy, Cowboys. You're delusional, James. You're delusional. You're crazy.
He's been active in this
name a receiver on the Giants that's better than CeeDee Lamb.
That's what you got to do. You have to be able to stack these good days and remain consistent.
Hey, you guys gave away your speedster to the Chiefs.
Not only during the preseason, but the entire season.
All right, one more play, and just so
Saquon or Pollard. I'll take Pollard because Saquon is going to get injured this year.
Back in the fold. Great to see him.
James in the chat. I can't see the comments. Yeah, James is in the chat. Yes, Rich. James is in the chat. Our number one troll is in the chat. Shout out to Marcos Mercado in the chat. What's up? What up? What up?
Hand it off underneath. There it is.
I really want to see what Deuce Vaughn is going to do. Deuce Vaughn is our third-string running back, but I think Deuce Vaughn is going to be really good out of the backfield.
Great job on your inaugural training camp live presented by American Airlines. We've also got the Greater Ventura Boys and Girls Club here.
Shout out to everybody, man.
Wanted to give them a
all right, so I'm gonna. I think they did an interview. They did an interview also too with D-Law. So I want to check that out too as well.
Hey, it's me, your dry skin. We go through a lot every day.
There we go.
I feel like it's pretty good for us.
There we go.
As an edge rusher, obviously when the play is going on, you don't know what's going on behind you, but based on the talent.
Hold on, let me start from the beginning.
Happy New Year, man.
Oh, thank you, man. You know, glad to be back.
Updating on the viewer side unless you back out and come back in. Yeah, it's weird.
He likes to set up rookies and young players here with the core of the veterans.
Yeah.
Let's see what Lawrence got to say.
Great foundation. You know,
D-Law.
3 under McCarthy. You know, now it's time to build and get to where we need to be.
How important is it for you at this stage of your career? You're still playing at a high level, Pro Bowl level, but to also be able to mentor guys like Sam Williams who are looking to have that year 2 jump.
Yeah, it's huge, man.
Sam Williams
being able to have young guys to come in with that type of talent base. You don't get to see it that often, but when we get a young guy like Sam, man, you want to make sure they get everything that they need so they can become the player that they should be. And I feel like he's on his way.
Your reaction to Diggs getting that deal done, he can just come and practice and not be distracted.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the type of dog he is, man. Once you're already destined to get it, it shouldn't faze you at all. And he's showing that type of character, by being out here today.
Tank, it's only 12 practice sessions. Can you talk about how precious this time is when y'all get out on the field and need to get the work in?
Oh, yeah. It's huge for us. Being able to get out with your guys, get your feet back underneath you, the camaraderie. Is everything. So, being that we have, an older team and, we very fond of each other and we understand, our types of roles on the team, feel like we off to a good start and we're going to get it going.
What's the best way for a young guy to stand out when you guys are ramping up and you can't even have the full padded or physical practices yet?
Yeah, I feel like a young guy can stand out by, just making sure he's up to date on his play calls. He's working on his fundamentals and he's working on his craft each and every day.
Mike McCarthy talked about kind of marrying this idea of having the younger guys and the older guys mesh together and have a really good working relationship. Mm-hmm. What has it been like for you being the leader in this room and really this team to see these younger guys stepping up? And does it rejuvenate you in a way?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. feel like we got a lot of speed on our defense, especially the D-line, and you know, having the younger guys coming, you know, tag along, asking questions all the time. It makes me, you know, feel like I'm young again. I start asking more questions, so I feel like it's pretty good for us.
As an edge rusher, obviously when the play is going on, you don't know what's going on behind you, but based on the talent and the personnel that's back there coming into this 2023 camp, what level of confidence does it give you to know that, hey, you can go play freely and just be D-Law because the guys behind you have so much talent?
Right. Yeah, man. Like, we got a strong cast, man. Our unit is, you know, tremendous in their jobs, and, you know, definitely the confidence is going to be there when you got ball hawks and, you know, head hunters like we do on our defense. So, most definitely.
Last year you talked about how your mentality changed going into the 22 season. Have you had any changes in terms of the way you're approaching 23?
Feel like I want to, you know, be more dominant. Feel like I can play a bigger role in, you know, taking my dominance to the next level, especially, you know, being more familiar with the defense and understanding.
I think D-Law's going to do good this year. You got some young guys helping him out.
What are some of those responsibilities?
Just the cover, really. Just understanding the coverages, understanding, you know, how much more time do I have on those type of coverages. Yeah.
McCarthy made it a point to say that he didn't think he needed to bring in another team to have a joint practice because you guys work together so well on both sides of the ball. You both play at high levels. Can you talk about that iron sharpens iron thing that you guys have and how it will help the whole team be better?
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I feel like, you know, when another team comes in, like, you start to get a little lackadaisical and you start to play to, you know, their tempo. I feel like, you know, us as the Cowboys, you know, offense and defense, we set a good tempo for each other, and we should continue to practice like that. All right, appreciate it, guys.
Yes. Thanks, Dak. I think that was awesome, bro. I think that was awesome. We're going to listen to McCarthy talk real quick, and then I'll be back to play some Madden. We'll do some Cowboys action, but right now I want to see what McCarthy got to say.
Platform. First time you're asking a question, I'll call you out. David?
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. The club was able to sign Trayvon yesterday to a long-term deal. Can you just talk about being able to get that done before camp starts and just how what he gives you defensively and means to this team?
I mean, definitely. I mean, it's good all the way around. I mean, personally, just excited for him and his family, and you know what that means for his, you know, his financial future. You know, but for us here at the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, the timing's great, but you know, second contracts, I think is such an important part of the draft and develop method. And when you're able to get your young guys done, you know, I mean, there's, you know.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too, Rich.
So, yeah, I was excited to see that happen.
Mike Todd Archer with ESPN. For him as a player, what's the next step for him? What do you want to see improvement from Trayvon?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing is, you know, we always talk about taking the next step and a definition of what that next step looks like. I mean, I think clearly when you look at our defense as a whole, you know, when you lead the league in a category, you know, particularly takeaways, as we've had the last 2 years, and I think, you know, when you look at the history of this league and what that represents, and he's a big part of that too. So I mean, it's the ability just to play with a higher level of discipline and know that his opportunities are going to probably be less, but how can he contribute in the other aspects of defense? So, you know, just keep taking that next step.
Also talk about the Clarence Hill Forward Star Telegram. Can you talk about the excitement of him playing with Gilmore and what that tandem looks like?
I mean, you can see it from day one. I mean, I can just, you know, remember when we signed him, you know, and, you know, I think it was the next day in the weight room, you know, those two were in there working out. So I think that, you know, first impressions, impacts, and, you know, not only for, you know, Trayvon, but, you know, for all of us, you know, and just to bring that veteran leadership.
I agree with you, Miguel, with Diggs and the Ramsey comparison.
On the wall, you know, and
I agree.
I think just like anything, the players are always the first to know and the last to know. So you can see the impact that it had on the locker room, you know, and it started day one with Trayvon.
Hey, Coach, Jane Slater, NFL Network. You know, we asked Dak Prescott about this West Coast offense, which he dubbed Texas Coast offense. during OTAs and minicamp. A lot of fans are excited to see what that looks like. Can you explain what you're trying to marry with moving away from what you guys were doing last year with this offense and the mindset this year?
I would not say we're moving away from, really. We're not moving away from anything that we've done in the past, because it's our foundation, you know. And I mean, you go back to the first day when I arrived here, it was important to keep the language for Dak Prescott. So, you know, concepts are always, you're trying to grow. Every concept has a history, you know, and the scheme design, in my view, always fits into a family. It's important to keep growing those families and have variations of it. So, you know, our approach is to build off of what we've established, you know, as an offense. And but I think you clearly got to recognize that, you know, when I said the 30%, you know, the 30% number I was really focused on was language, because language is such a big part of this. And you know, if I have to learn new words, which I've had since I've been here, and the crazy part is the same word means the totally opposite about 50 different times, so I still screw it up once in a while. But that's such a big part. But the concepts are the concepts. The schemes are the schemes. We've put a tremendous amount of time in detail on the concepts as we've added the wrinkles that you have to add. You have to protect your base concepts every year and give it variation and definition, and that comes into details. And that's
Talk
really
to him, Mike. Talk to him, Mike. Let him know about the scheme.
Coaches have done a really good job, you know, in the off season, you know, because we talked about learning it, you know, through phase 1 and phase 2, then we talked about detailing it in phase 3, and I feel like we accomplished it. Now we got to go practice and perfect it. So.
The thing that I wanted to ask you on that too is, you know, talking about adding some of the speed, the vertical threat with Brandon Cooks. Could you see yourself utilizing him similarly to what you did with Randall Cobb in Green Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think, you know, just like anything, you know, a big part of having, you know, elite playmakers is, you know, it's the same conversation we have all the time in here about Micah. You know, if you line up, you know, an elite player, you know, a playmaker in the same spot all the time, it's easier for the opposition to try to take them away. So, you know, one of the things, because, you know, obviously with Brandon being new, you know,
definitely got to move around,
you know,
Micah.
His route tree, and, you know, particularly the menu that he's really excelled at in his past experiences. You know, we obviously pay close attention to that. So, you know, and it's really the same conversation with Michael Gallup. You know, we don't want to just line Michael up at the X spot all the time too. So, you know, these answers really fall in the area of details, and the details I'm talking about. You know, the concept may be the same, but you may have different players lining up in different spots to excel at that. Because at the end of the day, you know, like I remind our guys, you know, time and time again, I've never seen a quarterback get fired for for having bad run game footwork, you know, or you know, spending too much time in the run game. But you know, at the end of the day, it's about throwing the football. You know, it's about winning 2-minute drills and so forth. So the connection between the quarterback in the route running of the perimeter group is a major focus for us.
Mike Edwarder, ESPN. This is the first training camp that Tony Pollard comes into where Zeke's not part of the equation anymore. He comes in as a #1 guy for the first time in his career. What are your expectations from him in that role, and how will you manage him in this camp coming off the injury?
Good question.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, you know, still recognizing he's coming off an injury, so that wouldn't change regardless of, you know, the situation we were in as far as, you know, his leadership role and so forth. So, you know, the management will be just in the progression of how his reps climb, you know, throughout here. We're in a ramp up phase really for the whole team. You know, we're only going to use 3 of the 4 practices, and you know, so our third day is going to be different. We're going to go in a higher teaching mode. Just, you know, it's a part of our design. So I think that will help him get to the numbers on a smooth rise that we're looking for. So, but at the end of the day, it's been really cool to see Tony, you know, step up and lead that running back group. So, you know, he's speaking up in the meetings more, and, you know, he's a very high in awareness. His detail has been excellent. So he's an excellent role model for our young players.
Joe Trahan, WFAA TV. There's so much that goes into putting on this training camp, Mike, but it comes down to 12 practice sessions. Can you describe just how precious the time is when you guys are actually on the field?
That's a great question. They're all going good questions, but that's a great question because frankly, I feel like I just got done talking about this in a team meeting. You know, 10 padded practices. I mean, you think about what our training regiment has come to, and the importance of the efficiency of it. So, I've always tried to have the training camp schedule done for the assistants, mid-May, late May. It gets a little bit more challenge every year just because of the lateness of the scheduling. But we put a tremendous amount of time into the preparation for this camp because not only what drills, how we're doing it.
Yes, the jury is still out for Tolbert. I agree with that, Miguel.
And because there's
I want to
so
see
much you wanna
Tolbert step
get
up
done
this
here,
year.
and the level of efficiency to me really feeds into the competitive spirit of your team. I mean, there's one of the reasons why we felt that we wanted to just work against ourselves this year was was the fact that we feel really good about our work. Our team periods and the ability, the competitive spirit and the discipline of it, because we've been a very aggressive football team, but we're definitely at times have been too much. And I think some of that has shown up in our penalty numbers. So, clearly in 21 we weren't where we wanted to be. 22 we started off, not where we wanted to be. But the second half of 22 is I felt we were more emotionally disciplined, particularly at the end of plays and at the beginning of plays, with the pre-snap and the post-snap. So that's another big emphasis for us. And I think when you can do that in a consistent, competitive environment, I think it's really conducive to hitting the target on the things that you're really emphasizing for your team.
John Michaud, The Athletic. With Terrence Steele,
very well said, Mike.
Injury, has he kind of surprised you with how quickly he's come back? Is he ahead of schedule, and just kind of what do you expect from him early in camp?
I mean, really, if you know Terrence and if you could see him every day, I mean, nothing really surprises you. I mean, super consistent, off the charts professionally. He's been in there since the surgery every day at the same time. So I mean, I'm not surprised at all that he's crossed the thresholds that he needed to cross in a timely fashion that he did because of his discipline and work ethic. So we feel really good about him coming back. But in the same breath, we got to be smart with him too. I mean, it's still a major joint injury. So
yeah, we got good, strong safeties and free safeties. We don't have a ball hawk.
Mike,
we got guys that come up and make a hit.
I wanted to ask you about Josh Butler and kind of what you saw out of him, and then going a step further.
Yeah.
This is not the first time you guys have gone to the USFL to find talent.
Yeah, we did pick up Josh Butler. He came from the USFL league.
And I think clearly when you go through the spring, and I think our personnel department, I think it tells you about the commitment that they have as far as watching these other league, and having Gerald Johnston is definitely an asset. So you look what we're able to get done with Terp last year and the impact that he made for our football team. So it's a great opportunity for him, and I just want to see how he blends in and gets going. Obviously, we just signed him yesterday.
Hey, Coach. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Circling back to your running back room, you know what you get from Tony Pollard. Ronald Jones is more of a traditional back. But when you start factoring in,
no, it's not too late. You can still get the rookie premieres.
Deuce Vaughn, it's a great problem
still
to
like
have.
August
What's the
10th or
challenge
something.
of balancing that versatility and using their flexibility with not getting too far away from a traditional run style?
Yeah, excellent. I think number one is they're different. When you have different traits in any position room, it really, to me, the conversation.
I'm just going to listen to this and then we're going to get into some matters.
Because that's really what it's going to come down to. It's the importance of their role, not only just on offense, but how can they contribute? Because at the end of the day, from day one, I mean, these rookies, the fastest and best vehicle to make the 53 is through special teams. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. That's the way this league works, particularly for the guys that are later draft picks and free agents. So it's just the facts of the matter. So it's really finding that role, in also with us, the way we're trying to go, because, our running back rooms is different. Our receiver room is different. So, what does that look like as far as ball distribution, roles and responsibilities? I'll tell you right now, I think this 53 cut's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be really tough because you do have some different roles of young players and how we're able to pull that together. And that's why really, these first aid practices, are so important because it gets through all the 8 installations, so you can hit all these different personnel groups and conceptually, accomplish what you want to accomplish. But yeah, I mean, the tight end group, the running back group, and obviously the receivers. I mean, those rooms are clearly different than the way they've looked the last 2 years. So that will affect the way we want to play and how we'll try to pull it all together. Because at the end of the day, we need to pull it together for the quarterback.
Clarence Hill, Forward Telegram. Speaking of the quarterback, I asked Jerry yesterday what he expected from Dak, and the first thing he said was, "I don't expect him to throw as many interceptions." How much has interceptions been a part of the conversation with Dak, and what are your expectations for him this year?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I could go back and show you Alex Van Pelt's interception report from 1989. It's always been done the same way. I mean, you get the season, your season's over, you evaluate you really get the negative stuff out of the way. So when you are able to get together, you address them, and to me, that's always been the basics of coaching a quarterback. I mean, that's just the way I learned it. That's the way I've always done it. So understand that
something a little different,
the amount of conversation around it. But I really don't look at his particular performance any different than any other year. I'm well aware of the numbers, but we're going to evaluate every throw in season, when it happens, in practice when it happens, and so it's a daily evaluation process. And and I think we all understand that we may look at it a little differently than others look at it, and that's part of it. That's part of our business and playing under a microscope. But I'm very comfortable with that. I mean, he didn't like it. Not necessarily he didn't like it, but we talked about it the other day, and it just said, hey, there's going to be a time where he's going to maybe throw 2 interceptions early in the game, and that's going to be a great moment for us to learn from, because that diversity is coming. You don't compete in this league and not have adversity on and off the field. It's not realistic. And so that's part of the everyday grind as a quarterback. You have to have moments that you just continue to play and don't let it affect you. And then as a play caller, I have to stay aggressive and things like that. So interceptions postseason, they're really a great opportunity to learn from. So, and that's just the way I've always done it. That's the way it's always been broken down. So
don't want to throw interceptions in the postseason.
It was no different this year.
Mike, you mentioned with Pollard becoming more vocal in the running back room. With Trayvon, he seems quiet to us. I don't know how he is with the rest of the team, but when you sign a guy to make that kind of commitment to a guy, does he need to become more vocal or be a bigger part of things in terms of the rest of that room?
Yeah, I think it's important, when you're dealing in the emotional realm and the personality, evaluation or how they fit. And I talked about it in the team meeting today. It's important for everybody to clearly understand their role, but to prepare and perform within their personality. I mean, and you start asking people to act differently because of the size of their paycheck. I'm not for that, but I think we all understand that, the more money you make, the more, the more responsibility you do have, but you don't have to change your personality. So I think it's important for him to be himself, continue to grow. And I think just like anything, there's a time in the league, I know as a coach, I don't think I spoke the first 3 years in the room. It was part of the generation. You just, there's a lot to learn for young people, and his personality, I would not classify him as quiet, but I see him differently than, my interaction's different than yours, but I understand where you're coming from. So, yeah, I guess the long answer to say, no, I don't want him to change his personality.
Mike, you praised the rookie class yesterday. What has Marmion overshown up to this point?
I don't think nobody's changed
Well, I
their
think
personality.
you can really just jump back to my early answer. When you look at special teams, there's a young man that he gets it. He's made an impression right away in the off-season program, both on on special teams, and when the special team coaches, we get into your personnel meetings, and he's one of the first guys you talk about. That's what you're looking for, and he's done a really good job. I know Dan and Scott McCurley, we're excited about him and what he brings to the table. But he's done a really, really good job coming in here, learning it, and I look for him to make an impact.
Coach Jess Tavares with Pro Football Network. You talked about yesterday kind of marrying the ideas of having
They're asking all the questions
today. Kind of come together. Do you feel like that's rejuvenating for those veterans, and such as Tank or even Tyron, how it brings kind of an extra light out of them to have the young guys being so close to working with?
Definitely. I think it's the natural dynamics that go on with every team, and frankly, it's no different than family. Scott Tolzien showed a picture today in the quarterback meeting of his, I think his daughter's 6 months old, and his grandmother just turned 107. So, youth is, energizes everybody.
Damn,
so, and you see it all the time. And that's no different for young players coming in here. And, when you get old fast in this league, if you're able to stick around and, the generations and how these guys come in, it's definitely rejuvenates all of us. It makes us, learn a little different way to maybe talk and understand. And, I'm fortunate to have five children, and I think it definitely helps me to have at least an idea what this generation, how they operate. And if I didn't have 5 children, I probably have I don't know if I could relate. So, the youth of your football team is definitely an energy source and a light that you just definitely want to take advantage of.
I was going to say, just to follow up on the precious nature of all this time that you have, what was your message to your team to get this particular camp going, Mike?
I didn't have a big message today. I mean, because I don't know how in tune you are with our schedule. We spent an incredible amount of time through the education focal points of the league, with domestic violence and gambling, hitting all those things, and then you have the medical report. So that's a very long meaning, very informative. So we're kind of building that thing. The biggest thing I want done is I want to get this training camp practice environment set. Get off on it, and that's really, I think, a reflection of the confidence that I have of how we came out of the spring. I didn't really feel like we needed a whole lot of let's get them ready to go. They're ready to go. I mean, I went to dinner with the Leadership Council Monday night, and this bunch is ready to get going. So, and they know what we want to get done. It's clear, and I think we all have more confidence, better understanding of the things we need to work on. But at the end of the day, you still start the first step. You can't skip steps. And really, one of the things I'd really hit on was this is the purest football opportunity that we'll have all year. I mean, we will not have an opportunity to have the field in the meeting space, and just the continuity and the efficiency of this operation to me is unbelievable. So the fields are in great shape, the weather, all those things. You wonderful people are here. We're so close to you. So I mean, it's just this is football. This is what it smells like. This is what it looks like, and we really need to take advantage of that.
Last one with Christy.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. In regards to kicking competition, how do you plan to manage
well, listen, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to finish up my dinner. I got some beautiful ribs in front of me, and I will be back later. We're going to do some Cowboy Nation
I think, it's
football when I get back.
Last year.
But I just wanted to do this real quick.
We give both these guys an opportunity to win the job. And
so I'll see you guys later, man. And we'll get into some football action.
We went a different direction last year. Obviously, we had the big workout out here, and then obviously Brett won the job. So, but we want to make sure we give these guys a chance to compete and win the job.
Alrighty, thanks everybody.
All right.